The last letter. Donald Trump sat alone in his Mar-a-Lago office, the golden glow of the setting sun, reflecting off the antique furniture. The world knew him as a billionaire, a former president, a man of immense power. But today, he was just a man holding a letter that had arrived unexpectedly that morning. The envelope was aged, its corners curled and brittle. It bore the emblem of the United States Marine Corps, and the handwriting was shaky, almost desperate. He turned it over, breaking the wax seal carefully, and pulled out the yellowed sheet inside. The letter began simply. Dear Mr. Trump, my name is William Carter. If you're reading this, I am no longer alive. I was a Marine, one of the thousands who fought for this country, a country you once led. I don't know if you will ever read these words, but I need to write them. I need you to understand something. Trump's pulse quickened. He leaned forward, his eyes scanning each word. I come from the kind of town politicians only talk about when they need votes. My father worked in a steel mill until they shut it down, and my mother waited tables for as long as her health allowed. I enlisted at 18 because I had no other choice. America gave me a chance, so I chose to fight for it. I served 3 tours, lost too many brothers. When I came back, I wasn't the same. You wouldn't recognize me in a crowd. The war took pieces of me, and what it left behind, the world didn't know what to do with. I couldn't hold a job, couldn't sleep without nightmares. I became invisible, even to the country I bled for. Trump's fingers tightened around the paper. He had met soldiers before, had spoken at rallies about veterans, had even signed bills in their honor. But this letter felt different. It wasn't statistics, it wasn't applause. It was raw, painful truth. I don't blame you for my struggles. I don't blame anyone. War is hell, and we all pay the price. But I hoped, even prayed, that someone like you, a man who promised to put America first, would see us, really see us, not just in parades, not just in speeches, see us when we're sleeping under bridges, when we're waiting in VA hospitals for appointments that never come, when we're drowning in memories that won't let go. I'm not asking for sympathy. I've made my peace. But I leave behind a daughter, Emily. She's 14. And she still believes in this country. Don't let her down. Don't let the others like her down. The sons and daughters of men who wore the uniform, who sacrificed everything, deserve more than folded flags and kind words. You always said America should be great. Make it great for them. Semper Fi, William Carter. Trump exhaled sharply. His hands, usually steady, trembled slightly as he set the letter down. Outside, the palm trees swayed in the Florida breeze, indifferent to the weight of the words he had just read. He had spent years fighting battles in boardrooms, on television screens, in political arenas. But this was a different kind of fight. A fight for the forgotten. For the ones who had given everything and received so little in return. Trump reached for his phone. "Get me the Secretary of Veterans Affairs," he said. His voice was firm, resolute. The call was just the beginning. The following weeks saw policy changes, new initiatives for veteran mental health services, emergency funding for struggling VA hospitals. Trump visited rehabilitation centers, spoke with veterans, listened, not as a politician, but as a man who had been reminded of his duty beyond the Oval Office. Months later, at a private ceremony in Arlington, he met Emily Carter. She stood in front of her father's grave, clutching the folded flag that had been given to her at his funeral. "Mr. Trump," she said softly, looking up at him with determined blue eyes, "did you read my dad's letter?" Trump nodded. "I did." "Did it matter?" she asked. He knelt beside her, the weight of her question pressing on his shoulders. Yes, Emily, it mattered, and it always will. As they stood in the quiet cemetery, surrounded by countless names etched into stone, Trump realized something profound. Greatness wasn't in power or wealth. It was in honoring those who had given everything, in making sure their sacrifices weren't forgotten. And in that moment, under the vast American sky, he made a promise to William Carter, to his daughter, to every soldier who had ever worn the uniform. America would remember. But the journey wasn't over. That night, Trump found himself staring at the ceiling, William Carter's words echoing in his mind. He thought of all the times he had shaken hands with veterans, all the times he had spoken about them, yet never truly seen them. He realized he couldn't stop at just one initiative, one call to action. It had to be bigger. Over the next year, Trump spearheaded a nationwide campaign. He visited homeless veteran camps, sat down with their families, and listened to their unfiltered truths. He stood in VA hospitals and demanded reform in real time, making calls and pushing paperwork forward on the spot. One evening, in a small town in Pennsylvania, he met a man named Richard Lawson, a Vietnam War veteran who had spent the last 15 years living in his car. Richard, frail and weary, told Trump the same thing William Carter's letter had told him. We were heroes once, then we were nothing. Trump didn't just listen, he acted. He launched a private foundation, using his own funds to build temporary housing, job training programs, and mental health resources for struggling veterans. He partnered with corporations to ensure these men and women had employment opportunities. He stood on stages and made it clear. This wasn't about politics, it was about justice. And slowly, the tides began to turn. Homeless veterans found homes. Suicide rates among former soldiers started to decline. Families were reunited. A movement had started, one bigger than any campaign slogan or policy briefing. Years later, at another Arlington ceremony, a woman approached Trump. She was in her 20s now, with the same determined blue eyes he had seen before. "Mr. Trump," Emily Carter said, standing tall, "you kept your promise." Trump, now older, nodded. "Your father deserved it. They all did." As she saluted him, he realized that for all the battles he had fought in his life, this had been the most important one, and for once, he knew he had truly won. Life lesson. This story teaches us that power and influence mean nothing if they aren't used to uplift those who need it most. True greatness isn't measured by wealth or success, but by the lives we impact and the promises we keep. Every person has the ability to make a difference. Sometimes all it takes is listening, seeing, and acting. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful, thought-provoking stories.